What's good, everyone? Thank you for stopping by to visit the channel for this upcoming game preview. If you want to stay updated in the world of college football, if you haven't done so already, pound that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and select all so you won't miss another video. Folks, there is no need to hype up this game any further. For those of you who are new to the channel, first off, welcome. But let's cut to the chase. In your mind, you are saying, bruh, you know why I'm here. Just straight up Marshawn Lynch style. So let's get to it. So with every preview, we like to start off with the tail of the tape of advanced stats. We have the number 3 and the number 4 team in the country in SP+. Georgia's offensive SP+ ranking is currently 42nd after dropping 4 spots from 38th, and they still boast the best defense in the country. Meanwhile, Alabama has a top-rated offense in the country according to SP+, and they are currently ranked 22nd in defensive SP+, after dropping 5 spots from 17th. Alabama also dropped a spot from 2nd to 3rd in overall SP+ as well. SP+ has the Crimson Tide as a 5-point favorite with a 62% win probability, and the line in Vegas opened as Alabama as a 5-point favorite. Alright, Alabama fans, I have to start off with a recap of your performance last week against the Fighting Freshwaters of Ole Miss. So we're going to start off with the good. The offense, yes indeed. The offense is legitimate. Alabama had 12 offensive drives and they had 11 scoring opportunities. Now, a scoring opportunity is when you get inside the opponent's 40-yard line. With Alabama's 11 scoring opportunities and 12 drives, they had a 96% scoring rate margin. According to Roger Sherman from The Ringer, Alabama gained 723 yards out of a possible 764. That means Alabama gained 95% of their available yards in one game. Now, that typically doesn't happen. Now, if we're being real with ourselves, it was probably the worst defense they're going to see all season long. But Alabama did whatever they wanted to against Ole Miss. The Ole Miss defense came into that game just allowing 7.1 yards per carry and 9.5 yards per pass attempt. The Crimson Tide ended with 9.3 yards per carry when you don't include sacks, and 13 yards per pass attempt. The offensive line, they also came into the game with a different mindset. They were responsible for 3.76 line yards per carry, and they allowed 9% of their runs to be stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. Mac Jones continues to impress as he was responsible for a 78% passing success rate. And that is not his completion percentage. That was how often the play was successful every time he threw the ball. For a one-game setting, this is probably the best offensive performance that I've seen Alabama have in a long time. So now that I've talked about the offense, Alabama fans, if you want to fast forward this, feel free, but I'm not going to pull any punches here. Now that I've gotten that out the way, that was without question the worst Nick Saban defense I have seen since his time at Tuscaloosa by a wide country mile. On 3rd down, Ole Miss was 9 for 17, and on 4th down, they were 4 for 4. Alabama gave up 268 yards and 4.7 yards per carry. When you remove sacks from the equation, Alabama gave up 5.3 yards per carry. It is a definite drop-off from the previous week against Texas A&M when they held the Aggies to 3.8 yards per carry, while A&M came into the game averaging over 6 yards per carry. The pass defense, which came into the game allowing 6.8 yards per pass attempt, gave up 13.1. But this is probably the one thing that is going to keep Alabama from competing for a national championship this year. Their 3rd down defense has been absolutely atrocious. Against Ole Miss on 1st down, Alabama had a 34% defensive success rate. On 2nd down, it went up to 42%. On 3rd down, 53%. That is 53%. And they were not all 3rd and short situations either. The average yards to go when they were on 3rd down was 8.4 yards. And here's something that is probably going to have you ready to fire Pete Golding right now, if you haven't already done so already. Ole Miss averaged 12.3 yards per play on 3rd down, and they had an explosiveness rate of 41%. That explosiveness rate on third down was the worst of any team in the SEC last week. Only one defense allowed more yards per play on third down. And it's not hard to figure out what team that was. It was Ole Miss. Their defense allowed 10.5. I am almost inclined to say Ole Miss is going to score in everyone they play this year. However, giving up over 600 yards of offense and 48 points, it was almost like I was watching Oklahoma play defense. A lot of poor angles, missed tackles, and players not lining up before the ball is snapped. It was definitely an all-time bad performance. So there's definitely a contrast between the two box scores. Now, as you're reviewing the success rates between the two teams, if you are a fan of defense, you like what you see here. But if you want to see more offense, that's another story. I do want to dig in and talk about the two halves Georgia had, because when we're reviewing this game, there is definitely a tale between the two halves here. In the first half, Georgia moved the ball well, but they also shot themselves in the foot. First turnover of the game led to Tennessee getting a defensive touchdown. They also tried to go for it on fourth down in their own territory in the second quarter, but Georgia ended up getting a penalty for an illegal motion, and then Tennessee ended up scoring on their next play by taking a shot into the end zone. Then you had the water bottle drive that ended with Tennessee scoring another touchdown. Now, Georgia had an opportunity to end the half with a touchdown, and Tennessee kept them out of the end zone from the 5-yard line. Not to mention, they also had 2 shots to score inside the 2-yard line. And I looked at the message boards, and many Georgia fans were a little uncomfortable going into halftime. And as you can see, Tennessee did not play a bad half of football. They had a higher success rate. They averaged over 7 yards per play. They also capitalized on Georgia's mistakes. They didn't turn the ball over, and they had all the momentum leading up to halftime. Now let's fast forward to the second half, and Tennessee did the complete opposite when Georgia's defense took the game over. Tennessee's first drive ended up with a sack fumble right on their doorstep, but the Bulldog offense settled for only 3. Tennessee's second drive, Jarrett Garantano throws the ball off his back foot. Eric Stokes picks the pass off, giving Georgia another scoring opportunity, but Georgia again ended up with 3 points. Gotta tell you, Georgia is very, very sound in the kicking game after losing Hot Rod. But that's another story for another day. Georgia would eventually put the ball in the end zone in the third quarter, but that third quarter was a forgetful third quarter for both teams. The fourth quarter was all Georgia, and this was where you saw the disparity in talent between the two teams. Georgia's defense shut the water off on the Tennessee offense, holding them to an 18% success rate in the second half and a 9% rushing success rate and a 21% passing success rate after Tennessee was in the mid-30s in the first half. In the keys of the game, for Georgia, they have to attack the middle of the field. If there is a weakness in the Alabama defense, it is a safety position in linebacker spots and pass coverage. Stetson Bennett has shown he can hit passes in the deep middle of the field. I will look for square ends and tight end Darnell Washington up the seams matched up against the safety. Also, Kearis Jackson has been a reliable target in the slot for Bennett lately. For Alabama, it is imperative they start off fast. In a game like this where your defense looked lost and confused the previous week, you must get out to a fast start offensively. It is easier said than done against Georgia's defense. Also, I will not be shocked to see Alabama break some tendencies in this game. I believe Steve Sarkisian will throw when it is an obvious running situation and run when it is an obvious passing situation to keep Georgia guessing. We have the irresistible force that is the Alabama offense versus the immovable object that is the Georgia defense. While that matchup is going to take the headlines, supposed to, obviously, the matchup that will determine the outcome of this game is going to be the maligned Alabama defense against a Georgia offense that is trying to put it all together. From a schematic standpoint, I think Alabama's defense matches up better than they did against Ole Miss and their up-tempo style. While Georgia, they do run some tempo in certain spots of the game, they're not going to go 100 miles an hour like Ole Miss did. However, Georgia can do some things offensively that can stress Alabama. I will look for some reverses to test the eye discipline early, and as I said earlier, the middle of the field is a problem for Alabama. Also, passes out of the backfield and a quarterback who can extend plays on the worst third down team in the country, that can pose a serious threat. Now, Alabama is going to hear all week about how terrible they are on defense and they should not bother showing up, they can't tackle, and how Georgia is going to run for 1,000,000 yards against them. I honestly do not know which Alabama defense is going to show up this Saturday night. The first two games, they looked better against Missouri and Texas A&M, and A&M, surprisingly, is ranked 5 spots ahead of Ole Miss in offensive SP+. I think the magic number for both teams is 70. And I'm not talking about 70 points, not talking about 70 yards rushing, but 70 plays. I think whoever gets to 70 plays first is going to control the outcome of the game. Now, I said all of that with a confidence of 1. I'm picking Alabama to circle the wagons on defense. I think they'll score enough points to put pressure on Georgia and force the Bulldogs out of their comfort zone. Accurate quarterback play typically gives a Kirby Smart defense issues, and Mac Jones has been accurate all season while distributing the ball to multiple targets on the field. I got Alabama winning to the score of 38-31. And that'll be a wrap for another game preview. So let me know what your thoughts are on the game in the comment section below. Give me your score prediction and also tell me why your respective team is going to win the game. I hope you enjoyed the video. All I ask is that you give the video a like. It helps the channel grow. And if you love college football as much as I do, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay updated with the latest previews and the occasional highlights. Thank you for watching. And since I had to pick a winner between Alabama and Georgia, I'm going to go hide now. So y'all be good, man. Praise God, man.